on behalf of HH2, I would just like to thank Tony and Joni for giving us this opportunity to present HH2 products to their customer base. We've been working with Tony and Mike and the rest of the people there at ETHOSystems for a number of years, offering our products and services to the Sage community. Now, today's presentation, we're going to look at one of our most widely used products, and that is our remote payroll and field reports products from HH2. And both of these products seamlessly integrate with both Sage 300 CRE and Sage 100 Contractor. And Joni had shared with me some of the list of individuals who have signed up for today's presentation. And I noticed some of you are current clients using HH2. So maybe you're interested in one of the other products I'll be showing you today. Maybe you're also interested to just kind of see what's new. So thank you very much for your business and for joining us today. And for those of you who are new to HH2, I'm just going to spend a minute to make sure you know a little bit about who we are and why, Tony and the rest of the team, have felt comfortable in recommending our solutions for the Sage community for the number of years that we've been working together. Just to make sure, can you see my PowerPoint, my presentation here? Joni?
I see, yes, it's there. Perfect.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, again, sometimes with the screens, as I go through here, if by chance I move to a different screen, please let me know or a different slide if you're not seeing my screen. I just want to make sure. So for everybody's benefit, who is HH2? Where did we come from? We have been in the construction industry for several years, and we've been a Sage third-party developer for close to 15 years now. I came on the scene about 14 years ago as the sales director here at HH2. It's been a great ride, and our products and services were developed in the cloud, really before the cloud became cool, right? Before everybody wanted their information in the cloud. It was interesting when I first started, I had the hardest time getting people to understand that their data was safe being transferred in the cloud, right? Servers and co-hosted information and stuff like that. And so a lot of people weren't familiar with that. Well, now today, those are just very familiar terms that everybody is using. And most people want to be able to access the software that they purchase anytime, anywhere. They don't necessarily need to be in the office. And especially today with the global pandemic that we're all enjoying at the present time, really now has been a great time for our software and services, allowing companies, specifically construction companies, to continue their process of gathering their job costed payroll remotely, their field reporting, without having their employees have to come into the office, deliver their time records, etc. So we have been extremely busy. Just over the last 2 months alone, we've had over 100 subscriptions added to or companies that have signed up for our software. So it is a busy time for us at HH2. The other thing to note about our software is it can be used, as I mentioned, anytime, anywhere. And it can be used on a laptop or a desktop computer just by using a web browser. There's nothing that is going to be loaded on your individual PCs. If I'm using a laptop or a desktop, I would just go to Google Chrome like I'll do today. If I'm using a handheld device like a tablet or a smartphone, we have built native apps for both iOS or Apple products and Android products, such as Galaxies or Samsung Galaxy tablets or smartphones, those that are out there. We have native apps. And I had a question come through in another presentation earlier today. Somebody asked me about offline capabilities. And if I do have a tablet or a smartphone, the nice thing about the native apps that we have available on those devices is that they can be used offline. If I'm using them offline, the information that I gather and put in the HH2 app is automatically saved locally to that device And then when I come into an area of connectivity, I just launch the HH2 app to the forefront of my device, and any data that has not been synced will automatically be synced to the cloud. Okay, so anyway, we have offline capabilities. Now, one more slide that's very critical. We're going to now build the foundation of HH2. Why have we been so successful in the Sage community? And for sure, it is our seamless integration with both Sage 300 CRE and Sage 100. Now, because we're a cloud solution, we really only need to install one thing, and that's called an integration or a synchronization client. It's going to sit on your server, okay? Whether that server is located in-house or maybe ETHOSystems is providing that hosted server for you. All you need to do is we need to get on that server and install the client, and then we begin syncing data. And data that we're syncing over for these particular products are items such as all of your employees. We're syncing over all of your jobs, your extras, your cost codes, your pay IDs, um, your certified classes in Sage 300. They're called pay groups in Sage 100 Contractor. We sync over your address book, contacts. That information is seamlessly synced to HH2. Now you can decide as a company how often you want that sync client to run. Some people have it just running once a day. They don't get many new jobs. They don't change a lot in their accounting system. So once a day is sufficient. I would say the vast majority of companies, however, either set the client to run once an hour, or now we have the opportunity to run a continuous sync. And in the continuous sync, the data will be refreshed every 5 minutes. One thing to note, and some people may worry, well, hey, I don't want it hitting the server that much. Is it going to slow down my system? And the quick answer to that is not at all. It's not going to slow down your system whatsoever. So anyway, data can sync. So if you just put in a new job in the Sage, within 5 minutes, if you've got the continuous sync, that information is going to sync up to HH2. So if you've got guys out in the field who are responsible for coding time, they are going to have access to the latest jobs, cost codes, and information that's found in the accounting system. Okay, that's the nice thing. There's no duplicate entry. You don't have to enter it in the accounting system and then enter it into HH2. The sync client is going to take care of that. Now, as your employees code time in the field, and I'll go through this today, as they're coding time, again, that information is synced to the cloud if they have connectivity, but it goes through a customizable approval process that you as a company will set up that is unique to you, that will work best for your company. And we have several different ways in which to do that. And then eventually, time records, field reports get back to the office or payroll personnel, if we're talking about payroll. And then the payroll person does the final look, review, then they simply export the time out of HH2 and import it into Sage. Now, that is really the only differences between Sage 300 CRE and Sage 100 Contractor. I'll talk about this at the very end when I go to export the time. But for Sage 100 Contractors, we actually have an API that Sage has allowed us to push that data into the 551 daily time entry screen. Okay? And so if you're Sage 100. Sage 300 will simply do an export, open up Sage Payroll, and import time records. Piece of cake. Very easy. All right, so that's a little bit about HH2 and about the synchronization, the integration. It's critical to our conversation today, which is why I cover it at first. Now, let me do this. I'm going to log in as Laurie Becker, if I can type correctly. Let's show you a little bit of the back end and some of the configurability really fast, because I know these questions may come up. In HH2, let's go to remote payroll first. And in the system settings, I'm just going to go in here because, again, I know I'll have people. I won't be able to show every feature that we have at HH2 just due to the sake of time. But in HH2, we have the ability to kind of handle different fields for unit details, unit information. We have the ability to set up attendance. So some people want to track the presence, they want to track start and end times. They may want to set up a geofence, and that's fairly new to HH2. But you can say, hey, I don't want these guys to be able to clock in within 1,000 feet of the job site, or whatever parameters you want to put in there. Maybe I want to turn on capturing GPS. Maybe I want to capture their photo when they clock in as well. So these are things that you can turn on or off, and then you can set up the different breaks in HH2. Also, for companies that capture equipment revenue time, and what I mean by equipment revenue time is the fact that you might own your own 25, 30 pieces of equipment, and whenever you have a job, you're going to charge the rental rate, whatever you've got set up in Sage on that piece of equipment. So we allow you to also set up equipment revenue, etc. And there's other ways in which you can do notifications, etc. Now, some of the other questions are, one, we support every pay type you can set up in Sage. In Sage 100, you only have 9 anyway. They're hard-coded. In Sage 300, you're unlimited. We'll actually sync over all your pay IDs from Sage. We'll color code them, and then we'll split them into groups of pay types that you may want to give people access to. Again, I won't go into too much detail there, but just know that any pay ID that you code to in Sage can be coded to in our system. Last but not least, let's talk about the payroll groups. I told you HH2 is very configurable. I might have several different groups in the company that need to code time. It might be an individual employee coding time. So maybe if I look at Stanley's crew, his approval path goes from the employee, Stanley, or maybe just the individual employee, to Stanley, who's the group manager. Then it might go to a job manager, and then it goes to payroll. That's a lengthy approval process. Or if I want to, I might go to Frank's crew, and I'm going to do Frank's group today. His approval path is just going to go from Frank, who's the group manager, to the project manager to payroll. Again, you don't have to have all of these. You might have it go right from the employee to payroll, and you can have several different groups. In addition to that, you have the ability to limit jobs. If you want only certain jobs to be seen by a specific group, you can even limit cost codes. So if you've got a cement crew and they don't need to see all of the different cost codes on a job, but only those that are cement related, then you might come in here and limit those. You don't have to. Please know that. That's completely up to you. But I've turned on different features for this group to do. So that's a little bit of the back end. And just letting you know, one, how configurable HH2, and how easy is it to get around our system. I'm going to log in now as Frank Galloway. Again, Frank's my foreman. I'm just going to do something. I'll do a few things on Frank's, but Frank's going to log in on his laptop first, and then I'm going to go to my mobile phone, because inevitably, almost every webinar I've ever done, people want to see what it looks like on a mobile device. So we'll do that as well. So let me explain what you're seeing on this screen. Again, this is Frank Galloway's time card, and Frank has decided he likes to do his time at the end of every day for his crew. Now, everybody from Donald Black to Frank Galloway are people that are part of Frank's crew and have been throughout the week. And then this is Wednesday, October 7th. And then you can see that Frank, right now, let's just pretend Frank is a foreman or a superintendent on the Northwest Food Warehouse job site. And so once he's added it to the time card, he never has to add it again, because it's always there. I don't need the redundancy of adding it every day. So it might be as simple for Frank to come in here and say, hey, Donald Black worked 4 hours there, 4 hours there. These 3 guys worked on asphalt paving. I had a couple of guys working on cement paving, and boom, he's done with his timesheet for his entire crew for the day, because HH2 remember the job and the cost codes. Now let's talk a little bit about how those got on my timesheet to begin with, right? So what I did, and what your employees will do, to add a job to their time cards, down here in the lower left-hand corner, you have a button that says Add Jobs and Codes. When I go to that button and I have the job selector, it pulls up the jobs that I have access to. Now remember, in the setup, I can either limit this guy to only see certain jobs, or if I do have a cement crew, I don't want to have to go in all the time and manage that. I may say, hey, for my cement crew, I just want them to have access to every job that we have in the system in case they have to go out to it. I don't need to add it on the back end. Now, what you're seeing on the screen, I'm going to pause here too and talk about these job numbers. These job numbers and names, of course, came from my accounting system. HH2 sync them over. Inevitably, I always have a question. What do you guys do with phases or extras or subjobs, depending on the vernacular of your company and your system? Well, as you can see here, I have the standard job of the Clackamas Office Park, and then I have a sub job. Well, if I were to click on the sub job and go to the cost codes, it's only going to show me the cost codes that have been set up on either that job or the sub job that I just chose. So there's only one cost code that has a labor budget. So I'm going to just add that. But before I do, please know that we also have the ability to add a GL account to the time card. We also have the ability to change their certified class on the fly, their union local, union class. I was doing a presentation yesterday for a company out of New Jersey who they changed their union local and their class quite a bit, and sometimes even their certified class. So, which is why I have some of this stuff turned on. So now if I have multiple jobs on my time card, you'll see this here. So let's say that Frank, really, he spent 4 hours between that job and 4 hours on this job, maybe getting this one ready. Okay, so I can even code to multiple jobs if I need to. Now, what I did in the area that I put time records in today was a pay ID called regular pay. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we sync over all your pay IDs. And I've just told Frank's group, hey, you've got access to these two pay IDs. If you might have regular overtime, double time, premium time, a host of other pay IDs that you want your guys to use. Now, we support every pay type. I'll show you something also. Well, let's just show it to you right here. Up in the menu, up here at the top of my screen, you see my pay type group. Let's say that some of my guys also get some reimbursement pay. So maybe Frank Galloway gets mileage because he's the manager and we're going to give him 35 units in mileage today. So this is just a way to access different pay types that I've grouped together. I hope that makes sense. In addition to that, maybe I have a set of pay types called paid time off, where I allow my employee or my foreman to also code time to vacation or sick or holiday pay. Once again, it really depends on how you set up the system. Okay, so just showing you how I can access different pay types very, very easily there. So again, this is a daily time card. If I went to a weekly time card, instead of seeing all my guys, when I changed to a weekly, it pulled up Frank's weekly time card. So if I'd forgotten to do Frank's time on Monday, it's easy. Maybe Frank worked on these two. Then on Thursday and Friday, he spent time doing excavating and backfill. If we have some overtime, I have the ability to put in some overtime. In addition to that, I have the ability to put in a note. This is, why I have OT. It's called a unit description. This description can actually sync into the description area in both 300 and 100. So just know that as well. It's called a unit description. Some people like to turn that feature and functionality on. In addition to that, some of you might say, hey, you know what? I have a lot of guys. You're doing some extensive job costing. I really only have one labor cost code. And if that's the case, it'll look much like this extra right here and this cost code here. But maybe everybody on my crew, they all do the same thing. So, it's very simple. I just need to get time in. So some of the other features that you could use is I could actually copy time from Frank Galloway and say, you know what, Donald Black did the same thing as Frank, but I don't want to copy Wednesday's time because I've already got time in there for Donald Black on Wednesday. And if I just said, hey, copy his time over, if I were to go to Donald Black's timesheet, Donald Black now has the exact same time records as Frank Galloway. So there's features, again, that might help you streamline that process. Now, that's a little bit about capturing time. Now, some people might say, well, how do you handle a new person showing up on the job site? How do you handle that? You got a new guy, he needed to come and maybe do something new on the job today. Well, if that's the case, up in the upper right-hand corner, I have the ability to add members to my crew. I don't need the office to assign them. I can just say, hey, you know what? I asked the guys to send me out Jose because he's helping me with some framing. And so I click on Jose's name and I add Jose to my time card. He's now part of my crew. Now, Jose could be working for somebody else that week. He could be working for somebody else that day. Both of us could be coding time for Jose. But I just picked him up for the day. And again, he's working with me on the Northwest Food Warehouse. He's doing some framing. So let's go to the cost codes. I don't know if we have any framing codes. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we've got wood framing. So let's just go ahead and select that cost code on that job and add it to our timesheet. So I added the code and I just say, he worked for me 8 hours doing framing. So that was very simple, right? Very, very easy. Now, again, as Joni and Tony mentioned, if there are questions throughout the presentation, I don't mind an interactive demo at all. I'll have them kind of keep an eye on those questions that might come in.
Nice
But I'm
segue,
going,
Kevin.
oh,
Nice segue, Kevin, because I actually do have a question, and you ended and prompted that at the perfect time, like you knew it was coming right there. Um, so for a question in the chat box, just want to make sure, Sage 100 client, if they set up a project, a job within Sage 100, they've put the cost codes to the project, but no budget, right? No dollars, no hours, no nothing. Can they pull a cost code in, like you just added an employee to your crew and added that irrigation systems? Can they pull a cost code? Can someone add a cost code to the project from here, or code time to the budget, or to the cost code
got it.
that doesn't have a budget yet? What are the options around that?
Okay,
Sage
that
100.
you okay, perfect. So that's a great question, and it's a great question for both 300 and 100 because it somewhat applies to both. So the quick answer is you can decide what cost codes let your guys have access to. Some companies that don't necessarily put a budget in 100 might give their guys access to the standard list of cost codes. But I want to get one thing kind of clear and very straight. And Tony kind of went around the edges a little bit of it, and that is, does it add the cost code to the budget or to the codes on the job in Sage? The quick answer to that is no. It won't automatically add those to the budget on that job. Typically, 98% of our customers don't want their field guys to control their cost codes on the job. So no, you can give them access to the standard list of cost codes to choose from, but it will not add it to the budget. And the vast majority of our companies don't do that, but it is a functionality that you can turn on or off. Did I answer that sufficiently, Tony?
Yep, just let me clarify. So if they were to set up the cost code in Sage 100 on the project, but not put a dollar budget to it. We do that in 300 as well. We
Uh-huh.
assign cost codes with no labor hours or dollar budget. If the cost code is on the job but blank, would HH2 be able to pick that up for them for use on timesheets?
We'll definitely pick that up, and that is something that you can turn on and off if you don't want to see, it doesn't have to have a labor category. So yes, you could do that. However, again, the vast majority of companies only want the employees out in the field to see those cost codes that have that labor category assigned to it in Sage 300 or have a budget to it in Sage 100. But we can work with you on that. So the
Perfect.
answer is yes. We can handle all types of situations.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, great, wonderful question. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Now, a couple of other things. Some of you might be interested you're doing equipment time. I'll do this very, very quickly. Very similar to the employee timesheet, I can also see pieces of equipment. So as I mentioned, we handle equipment revenue time. So if I'm using the blade to do concrete removal or whatever, and the backhoe to do some excavating and backfill, I can just put units of time to a piece of equipment very similar to the employee record. Okay, again, not rocket science. One question that inevitably I always get is, what about, I've got 5 shop guys that code their time to repairing piece of equipment. Do you support that? And the quick answer is no. We do not currently support equipment cost. That is something that I have been talking with our development team about. We're looking into getting that done. It's just a little complicated getting that back into the accounting system, which is why we haven't supported it in the past. But for equipment revenue time, if you're Sage 300, equipment revenue time can be exported and imported to the equipment module. If you're 100, the equipment time records will actually hit in 551, but it is only equipment revenue, not equipment cost time. So anyway, that's a little side note on that. For those of you who might be using attendance worksheets in some of the areas that you might be working in, I know some of you in the Southwest might need some of this functionality. There's some things that I've got set up here. Let's say that Donald Black and Tom and Lisa, we all rolled out on the crew at the same time, and I just want to record the fact that they were there from this time to this time. They took their lunch. Again, it's configurable. I like this worksheet for companies that just want to simply be compliant, that don't want to go down the rabbit hole of clocking in and clocking out and then chasing punches all day long. Okay, I love this worksheet. Now, again, there are some companies that need punch clock. You can have your guys come in and they could actually punch in. I am going to do punches on a mobile device here. Okay, so that's a little bit about the web. From here, I am going to do my best, and you're going to have to forgive me sometimes when I'm on these meetings, and because I've got Bluetooth going on my headset, I've got multiple pages, I've got GoToMeeting set up, I've got Air server that's going to be running. Sometimes I have some glitches where everything's just kind of, having fun just trying to connect. So I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that everything works out. Okay, right now you should be seeing my mobile device. And these are some of the apps that we have available at HH2, My Records, Document Flow, Payroll, Field Reports. Let's hit Payroll real fast because we got to get through this. Let's go ahead and just pull down and make sure we've got all of the data. Once I pull down on the screen, it pulls in all of that data that I already had on the website. So here's Frank Galloway's time card for the week. Okay, if I were to go to Donald Black's, there's Donald Black's time records also for the week. Okay. So anyway, as you go along, you can see other people. You'll notice that Tom Brooks has 8 hours up here. Remember, because we did that worksheet. I've got these 8 hours right here. Let's take you all the way back out to the front of the screen, our menu. These are items that you can turn on or off. You don't have to see all of these individual tiles. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to punch in just because I know people are going to ask for it. Let's say that I wanted to clock in John Carson. Okay, so I choose John and I just punch him in for the day. Okay, and maybe I've got another employee, Gary Cooper. Now, individual employees could use their device too, and it took my picture. That was just me clocking in and out for the individual day. It also recorded my GPS because I have that turned on. Now, it's not recording every step that I move around my home, which is where I'm doing this presentation from, during the day. It only captures the GPS of where I clocked in or clocked out, and that. So I just punched in. Let's go back to the screen. I'll punch out here in a minute and kind of show you where everything is at. But I showed you a weekly time card. A weekly time card is great, oftentimes for an employee. There's Tom Brooks. He's got time for Wednesday that's synced over. Well, let's do Tom's time for the rest of the week. And he just says, you know what, this is what I worked on all week long, and he's done, right? Very simple. I'm finished. Let's select another employee, Lisa Campbell. Let's do Lisa's time even more simple. She just had one cost code all week long, but let's do something unique for Lisa on Friday. Let's say that Lisa took some PTO and we don't want to charge the PTO to the job. You might have a job set up or a cost code set up for that kind of thing. It just depends on your Sage configuration. Today, let's just show you how to add a GL. So I'm going to come into my app and I'm going to choose GL. I'll just call this miscellaneous expenses. That's one we want. That's the one I want her time to go to. So now instead of a job, I have a GL up at the top of Lisa's time card. And I'm going to change my pay IDs from regular and overtime to my paid time off. And I will say that she was sick on Friday. And I'm going to put in some detail. Lisa called me while I was on the job site today and said that she may have COVID. So she is staying away and taking a sick day. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that as well. We'll just add that. Now, for those of you who are keeping track of coronavirus time, one of the things that we have done at HH2 is you can set up a pay type for coronavirus PTO and CFMLA, right? Because there's a couple of different things out there. I won't go into that detail, but just know you could set those up. In Sage 100, there's not a pay type for that, but you can at least track it in HH2 if you would like, okay? Anyhow, just showing you some of the functionality. So now at the bottom of Lisa's time card, she's got 32 regular, 8 sick for a total of 40. Okay, some fun things there. Let's go back to the punch clock. Let's go into John Carson and let's go ahead and clock him out. Okay, and then let's go into Gary Cooper and we'll show you a couple of other things. We clock both of those guys out. Now, for those individuals, let's go to the daily time card. This is just a different screen that I like to show. And I'm going to go to John Carson. Now, down at the lower portion, I'm hoping you can see it. It might be very hard, but down in the lower right-hand corner, it says attendance. I've got 0.05 for the day. Well, it's still red because I actually over-allocated John's time for the day. He only had, less than 5 minutes or roughly 5 minutes, and yet he's got 8 hours in there. If we want to really make this look like the way that it should, I would come in here and put 0.05, okay, and put there. Once I have the corrected hours in there, it'll actually turn this green. So those of you who want to do a little bit of that, that's kind of the way we handle attendance in HH2 and showing you some of those records. Now I've done daily time, weekly time. There's other things there. There's also ways that I can do the equipment, but I hope that just made sense. There's a lot that I still need to get through. What I'm going to do right here on my mobile phone is I'm going to just approve everybody's time for this week. I'm going to say, you know what? These are everybody's time cards. I'm going to approve it and say, I'm done doing my time. I'm just telling the next level above me, hey, it's Wednesday afternoon. That's when we have to get our time in. I'm done doing my cruise time. Now, some other features that you might be interested in is a signature. So I could pull over Donald Black or Lisa Campbell. I say, Lisa, this is what I've got you down for 32 regular hours, 8 hours of sick time. Are you okay with those pay totals? And she says, yes. So I go to the next screen and I say, okay, Lisa, I just need you to sign this as well. The fact that you haven't been sick or hurt or maligned or whatever. And she says, yeah, that's fine. I'll just sign off there. So Lisa signs off on the time card. Okay, so those are things that you can do, you don't have to do. Just another feature that I think is pretty cool. Now, one of the things that we just added to our remote payroll product for all of our customers is pay stubs. Anybody that subscribes now to HH2 Remote Payroll has the ability to turn pay stubs on. Now, to get to pay stubs, I don't find it in the remote payroll app because it used to be a separate product, but now we've combined it with payroll. They can simply go to My Records, go to pay stubs, and let's say, today with the great interest rates, I need to get a home loan and they're asking me for my last 3 months of pay stubs. So I pull up my app from HH2, say, get my last 3 months, get my pay stubs. And in less than 5 seconds, I have 13 pay stubs in the palm of my hand. Okay? And a great easy way. So instead of getting a blasted email reminder every single week with a copy of a PDF or a link that I have to go to, I can go to HH2 on the web or on my phone any time of day, anytime I want, and grab whatever date range of pay stubs I want to have access to. Then from here on my mobile phone, I can even email it to my loan provider, right? Right from here, or add it wherever I need to. So a great new feature. People are very excited about the fact that we added it now to our remote payroll subscriptions. So those of you who have joined us today that are current clients, if you were not aware of this being added to our system, please feel free to contact either your HH2 account manager or contact us at support at hh2.com, and we'd be happy to help you out. All right, now, does anybody have any questions about the payroll piece before I finish the time approval process? I'll come back to field reports in a minute. Any questions come in, Tony?
Actually, typing an answer right now, you may actually be able to answer it faster verbally. So, Sherry had asked a question: how does HH2 get the payroll info for the pay stub? And I was just starting to type out, well, they're using the API for your accounting software. So, did you want to just describe real fast how you guys are generating those pay stubs without actually printing checks, scanning checks,
Yeah,
checks back in?
you bet. You bet.
Thank
So if you're doing payroll within Sage, which is awesome, which is why many companies like both Sage 300 and 100, because their payroll solution is very, very good. So how we get those pay records into HH2 is after you process and then post your payroll records, all of those calculations will be done. They'll be sent to job costs. They'll be in the system. That is when HH2 grabs those records. Okay, so we see that information. Whether you give that guy a paper pay stub or whether it's a direct deposit really doesn't matter. We're still going to have that information in our system. And as Tony mentioned, we just used the API. We're pulling that data from the various fields that make up your payroll records or pay stub records. That's how we get it in. I hope that was sufficient.
Yep. Nope. And I usually
Okay.
just tell people, look, that pay stub, it's just a report format that's grabbing flat file data out of your accounting and just representing it as a report that looks like a check. So
That's even better. That's even better. Great. Great way to explain it. Okay, just again, we've got 15 minutes and man, I've got to go fast. So bear with me if you don't mind. I'm going to log in as Tom Brooks. He's my project manager. If you want the project managers in here, they can approve, they can view time, they can do a number of things. I'll make this fairly simple. A lot of times project managers like to just simply look at reports. And even if they're not in the approval process, they can actually be a viewer, a project viewer. And they can see all time that's been coded to their project, but maybe you don't want to wait for them to approve time. It's up to you. But let's say that this project manager, he's just going down, looking at everybody's time cards, looking at the cost codes that are being used. If he wants to run different reports within HH2 over time, he could select a filter, put in a select date range, choose a job, maybe even choose a cost code and say, hey, over the last 2 months, how many hours have we really totally put toward a certain cost code? They could run this report. It's nice. I'm not going to run that for you today. It's just available. From here, I'll just say, you know what? This guy was pretty happy. The guys are getting HH2. They're coding time the way they should. They're actually choosing jobs and cost codes that are in the system now, which has helped me out a ton. So I give it the thumbs up. I say, you know what? I'm happy with this cruise time. Let the payroll manager have at it. So I'm going to log in as Lori Becker again. And a lot of times, Lori, she's going to come into HH2 and she's going to see all the different crews over here to the right-hand side. She's got some menus up here to print out different reports or export time. She sees down the middle here different colored badges, I guess I should call them, saying, hey, there's some time in here that's gold and it says the word approve. Well, within HH2, that simply lets the people at that level know that all the time records below them are ready for their approval. If they're red and they say the word promote, it means that somebody below them hasn't quite approved that time. Now, there's other ways I can review that time. I'm not going to get into that today. I'll just simply say, look, I need to get payroll done, so promote the time to my level and bypass anybody else that may not have approved those time records. Now, let's do a quick example. Lisa, she has 32 regular hours, 8 hours of sick. Let's take a quick gander at her time. Oh, well, she's coded time to this job and these cost codes all week. However, she used the miscellaneous, or their foreman used a GL account that I prefer that they not use on this one for sick pay. But they put a great description, which was awesome, and I love that. But I want to make a quick change. So I can either go into Lisa's time card that way, or another way of reviewing time is time record entry. And I could just start scrolling through all of my employees, right? And there's Lisa Campbell in another way of viewing time, clicking on Lisa's name, saying, you know what, I'm going to just change that to this account. That's where I want her sick time to go. And then I could just easily make that change before it goes into my accounting system. So again, payroll admins have the ability to kind of change, move things around. Now, how do we get the time out of HH2? We do a couple of different things. We click this thumbs up for approval. So Laurie said, I've made all the changes that I need to make. And then right here is this export button. Now, early on, I told you there's a couple of different ways in which we export time. For Sage 100, when I click on that button, it actually opens up the API that Sage 100 gives us to use, and we push all of those records into the 551 daily time entry screen. If you're unfamiliar with that, I'll pull up my information at the end. I'm happy to talk to you a little bit about that, show you an example, or do a one-on-one. For Sage 300, it just opens up, or I can pull up a text file. The nice thing is, some of you might say, hey, well, how do you handle certified jobs or certified payroll? Well, very simple, very easy. It's just simply all of these individual records are separate line items. I'm not just dumping in 40 hours. Everything is job costed and set up on a single individual line item for every single person. Okay, and then we help you kind of configure the system. But that honestly is HH2. That's how easy it is to have time go through an approval process, have people in the office see it, and get time out of our system and import it into Sage. So gone are the days that you're going to have to hand key any of this data into Sage as well. All right, I've been talking a lot. I am going to go to field reports, but while I do, were there any questions that came in, Tony?
Nothing additionally, not yet.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. I know, again, I know I talk pretty fast. I hope this is beneficial. I'll bring up pricing here at the end, but in 5 minutes, let me show you how easy it is for a guy in the field to do a field report. Okay, so bear with me. After I do a field report, we're going to talk about how our products are priced. Let's jump into field reports from HH2. Let's go to today's date, the 7th. And you'll notice as soon as I open up a report, it automatically pulled over my payroll and it pulled over my equipment time that I coded. So it saved me time right there by adding these people to my report already. I can also capture the weather. And right now at this particular job site, it's 62 degrees, partly cloudy at 12:50 p.m. Frank Galloway's the guy who grabbed that. I can grab that multiple times during the day. If I want to, I can capture. You can see we have a lot of tabs. You don't have to turn all of these on. I'm only going to show you a couple more because we're going to do subcontractors, which oftentimes is very popular. So I copied my subs from yesterday. And let's say that the electric company, yes, indeed, they were here, or maybe they didn't show up today. Even though I copied them over, I could swipe to the left and just delete them from my report that day. Or maybe Beaverton Painting, instead of sending 3 guys today, they actually sent 4. And instead of 24 man hours, we had 32 man hours on the job. And then I can just decide if I want to keep the same dialogue in there, and I'll just save it. So, or I could add a new one on the fly just by clicking the button right up there, going to my sub list, and seeing all of the subs that I have, and then I could add them as a sub on the job. Okay, let's cancel out of those. Materials, for some people, materials are a big deal. Material deliveries, I'm going to use a receipt real fast. We'll come in here, we'll say ticket number 123. Today we received it at 12:51. I won't select a contact. We'll do lumber today. Maybe 200 pieces. Okay. And if I want to take a picture of the receipt, take a photo. There's my receipt. We'll go ahead and use that photo and put in some notes. This is an example of just pulling up the microphone on my phone and describing what the load of lumber looks like. Okay, we'll go ahead and just save that. Anyway, just showing some materials, activities. Now, real quick, I won't show this one, but for those of you who are interested in unit production, for especially Sage 300 CRE, if you are keeping track of unit production, this button right here will allow you to put in units produced, percent complete, and we can actually sync that data directly into job cost when I finalize this report and update those miscellaneous worksheets. For those of you who are Sage 100, our activities is just a place to gather information, but it does not push it into the field reports. It does not update the bid items. There's just some unique things that Sage 100's done there. So I can capture events, different things. Let's do two more things. Let's do a journal entry and say that maybe we've got a delay going on. Due to the amount of rain that we are receiving on the job site today, we had to stop for about 30 minutes on the cement pour. And so we'll kind of put that in there. And again, it's easy for me. If I'm carrying my phone around with me, I pull this out, open up the app, go to the specific tab and do whatever I need to. In addition to that, if people don't believe me, I'll say, hey, you know what? Well, let's grab an attachment. Let's let people know that we did indeed have the rain. And that's just a little photo of outside my office space here. I'll put in here Utah. Well, if I can spell Utah correctly. We're having the debate tonight between the VPs. Hopefully it's a little bit more cordial. This is a picture from my home. And let's go ahead and just save that photo. So I just, in less than 5 minutes, captured a daily log on my phone. From here, I have options. I can create a PDF and maybe email it to the general manager on the job or the owner of the job. And maybe he's interested in seeing what's happening on the job and he needs that sent to him every day. I can tap on the email address and email it off there. The other nice thing is, as I mentioned, I have connectivity. So of course, I just captured that on my phone. Let's go back to the web. Let's go to field reports. And I apologize. This is where I told you I might have some connectivities. Let me stop mirroring my phone. And usually takes about 30 seconds for me to, again, because I've got so many different things trying to connect. We'll come back to the website here. And hopefully I'll gather that. In the meantime, while we're waiting for all of my information to reconnect to the website, Tony, was there any questions that came in about field reports or any more on payroll?
Not at this point. Did you maybe want to jump into the pricing on RP maybe, or?
Yeah. Let me do that. Let me log out. Let me see if I can finish logging out of Lori to see
I
what's
don't want
happening
to
there.
complicate any issues you may be having technology-wise.
No, you're not. Nope, you're not at all.
And we did have a question about pricing, so thank you for going there.
Okay, perfect. We'll go in there. Let me go back to that site. Again, I apologize. I'm not going to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go to my sales site here once again. Again, I apologize for that. Let's log back in as Laurie. And sometimes when I go back, again, go back and forth on the phone. Let's go into the field report real fast. Go into the daily log calendar. And again, that information is already gone from my phone, so people in the office instantly can see everything that I just gathered on my mobile phone. There's my sub, there's my materials, there's my journal entry. And if I need to see that picture a little bit more detail, there's a picture right there. Okay. So anyway, that's HH2 field reports. Is very cool. We don't delete any of your data. It's always saved in HH2. It can be downloaded to a PDF anytime you guys would like, but it's always here and always on. Now, let's jump to pricing. So do this. If you ever have a question, go to hh2.com, go to our products. Now, we have a number of different products from HH2. As I mentioned, today we visited about 2 products: remote payroll, which now includes our pay stubs, and our field reports product. We also have a human resource product, a field service product, and our newest product in the lineup is document flow. We did a webinar on this about a month ago with the team there and had a lot of success. It's for AP routing and approval and for credit card transactions coming into the office. But for remote payroll, go into remote payroll, go into pricing. It takes you to the bottom of the page. I mentioned HH2 is a subscription-based pricing model. So we make it very simple and easy for companies of all shapes and sizes to get into the software. When you sign up with HH2, no matter the size of your company, everybody signs up at the very lowest tier of $249. For that, we give you unlimited users. There's no such thing as a user license in HH2. Once you sign up for a subscription, everyone in your company could be using the product. In addition to that $249 and the unlimited users, you get 8 free hours of implementation and training, working one-on-one with one of our specialists to help you configure your system. It also includes the integration with Sage. So integration, 8 free hours of training, unlimited users, all for $249 your first month. After your first month, you will be invoiced at the end of every month based on the total number of employees or pieces of equipment that actually had a time record. So if you've got some employees that are just salary, they don't job cost, you don't need their time in HH2, fine. We don't charge you for them. We just charge you for those employees or pieces of equipment that had time. So if you've got a company with 60 employees, 20 pieces of equipment that you coded to that month, that's 80. You would be invoiced at the end of that month $479. Okay, we've already had 10 companies sign up with us in the month of October already. And they were all sent an invoice for $249. They won't receive another invoice from HH2 until December 1st for their actual November usage. Okay, so a lot of the burden is on us to help you have the best experience, because we know you could quit at any time. There's unlimited, well, there's no long-term contract. That's pricing on payroll. Let's capture, let's go to field reports real fast. Field reports, pricing. Right here, pricing starts at $99. Okay, just $100 gets you into field reports. Again, unlimited users. We give you 3 free hours of implementation. This is an easier product to get up and running than payroll. And then it's based off reports. Today I did 1 report. It now counts toward my reports in October. So if I have 75 reports in HH2 at the end of the month, I get billed $99. If one month I have 200 reports at the end of the month, I'll get billed $135. And then if I go back to 99 reports at 1 month, I'll get billed $99 at the end of that month. Again, unlimited users, no long-term contract, and that's the pricing. Any other questions that came in on that? Sorry, I pulled up the wrong screen.
No, I haven't seen any on my end. I don't know, Joni, if you've got any as organizer only questions.
Nope, we covered it. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I am right at the top of the hour. So once again, Tony, Joni, thank you so much for the platform, for promoting HH2 products. To each one of you who've joined us today, thank you on behalf of HH2 for your time. For those who are current customers, thank you also for your current subscriptions and for your patronage of HH2. If you need to get a hold of me, you can contact me directly at khadley@hh2.com. This is our 800 number as well. And so that's my contact information. From there, do you want to take back the screen, Joni, and show any contact information for ETHOSystems?
I'm putting it in the chat box.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for a very wonderful job today, and thank you everyone for attending. You'll get a follow-up email tomorrow with the link to this recording. So thanks again, Tony.
My pleasure, and thanks again, Kevin, and thank you everybody for taking the time to attend with us today.